Hey, good morning, y'all. So this morning we are in Leviticus chapter 23, and this is about the feast and the Sabbaths, which is vitally important to the Lord. This is something that He feels is crucial unto Him. So I hope you'll come with me and let's get started. I'm out of the Blue Bible Hub. And we just invite the Holy Spirit to be a part of this message, and I say this in Yeshua's name. Feast and Sabbath. And you can also find this in Exodus 23. Sorry, my thing moved. 23, 14 through 19. Holy Spirit, we thank you for your presence here. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Speak to the Israelites and say to them, these are my appointed feast." Appointed. So they're set apart. The feast of the Lord that you are to proclaim as sacred assemblies. Remember, He hallowed the Sabbath. Sacred. It's sacred. It's something very vitally important to Him that we assemble for these feasts, right? For 6 days work may be done, but the seventh day is a Sabbath of complete rest, a day of sacred assembly. You must not do any work wherever you live. It is a Sabbath to the Lord. And notice it says a day of sacred assembly. He wants you to assemble with other people like-minded, to come together in worship of Him. That's vital. So Passover and the Feast of Unleavened Bread can also be found in Exodus 12, 14 through 28, Numbers 28, 16 through 25, and Deuteronomy 16, 1 through 8. These are the Lord's appointed feasts. The sacred assemblies you are to proclaim at their appointed times. The Passover to the Lord begins at twilight on the 14th day of the first month. On the 15th day of the same month begins the feast of unleavened bread to the Lord. For 7 days you must eat unleavened bread. No yeast is in that. It has not risen. It's flat. It's like a cracker. On the first day, you are to hold a sacred assembly. You are not to do any regular work. For 7 days, you are to present an offering made by fire to the Lord. On the seventh day, there shall be a sacred assembly. You must not do any regular work. The Feast of First Fruits. And the Lord said to Moses, "Speak to the Israelites and say, when you enter the land that I am giving you and you reap its harvest, you are to bring to the priest a sheaf of the first fruits of your harvest." And I did see where this guy planted a garden and he had a giant lemon. He put in the offering plate at his church. And next thing, now his lemon tree, his lemons are like this. It's amazing. And he shall wave the sheaf before the Lord so that it may be accepted on your behalf. The priest is to wave on the day after the Sabbath. On the day you wave the sheaf, you shall offer a year-old lamb without blemish as a burnt offering to the Lord, along with its grain offering of 2/10 of an ephah of fine flour mixed with oil, an offering made by fire to the Lord, pleasing aroma, and its drinks offering of a quarter hin of wine. You must not eat any bread or roasted or new grain until the very day that you have brought this offering to your God. This is to be a permanent statute for the generations to come, wherever you live. The Feast of Weeks, also found in Acts. It's found in Acts 2, 1 through 13. From the day after Sabbath, the day you brought the sheaf of the wave offering, you are to count off 7 full weeks. You shall count off 50 days until the day after the 7th Sabbath, and then present an offering of new grain unto the Lord. Bring 2 loaves of bread from your dwelling as a wave offering, each made from 2/10 of an ephah of fine flour baked with leaven, as the first fruits to the Lord. Along with the bread, you are to present 7 unblemished male lambs, a year old, 1 young bull, and 2 rams. They will be a burnt offering to the Lord, together with their grain offerings and drink offerings, and an offering made by fire, a pleasing aroma to the Lord. You shall also prepare 1 male goat as a sin offering and 2 male lambs a year old as a peace offering. The priest is to wave the lambs as a wave offering before the Lord, together with the bread of the first fruits. The bread of the two lambs shall be holy to the Lord for the priest. On that same day, you are to proclaim a sacred assembly, and you must not do any regular work. This is to be a permanent statute wherever you live for the generations to come. A permanent statute doesn't mean it was done away with. It's permanent. When you reap the harvest of your land, do not reap the way to the edges, all the way to the edges of your field, or gather the gleanings of your harvest. Leave them for the poor and the foreign resident. I am the Lord, your God. The Feast of Trumpets, also found in Numbers 29, 1-6. The Lord also said to Moses, speak to the Israelites and say, on the first day of the 7th month, you are to have a day of rest, a sacred assembly announced by trumpet blast. You must not do any regular work, but you are to present an offering made by fire to the Lord. The Day of Atonement, Leviticus 16, 1-34, and Numbers 29, 7-11. Again, the Lord said to Moses, the 10th of the 7th month is the Day of Atonement. You shall hold a sacred assembly and humble yourselves and present an offering made by fire to the Lord. On this day you are not to do any work, for it is the Day of Atonement, when atonement is made for you before the Lord your God. If anyone does not humble himself on this day, he must be cut off from his people. I will destroy from among his people anyone who does any work on this day. You are not to do any work at all. This is a permanent statute for the generations to come, wherever you live. It will be a Sabbath of complete rest for you, and you shall humble yourselves from the evening of the 9th day of the month until the following evening. You are to keep your Sabbath. So he's telling you when this was. From the evening of the 9th day of the month until the following evening, you are to keep your Sabbath. And there are many people out there right now preaching it's morning to morning. But this right here says it's evening to evening. So be aware of your word. Be in your word. The Feast of Tabernacles, also found in Nehemiah 13-18 and Zechariah 14, 16-21. And the Lord said to Moses, speak to the Israelites and say, on the 15th day of the 7th month, the Feast of Tabernacles to the Lord begins, and it continues for 7 days. On the first day there shall be a sacred assembly. You must not do any regular work, and for 7 days you are to present an offering made by fire to the Lord. On the 8th day, you are to hold a sacred assembly and present an offering made by fire to the Lord. It is a solemn assembly. You must not do any regular work. These are the Lord's appointed feasts, which you are to proclaim as sacred assemblies for presenting offerings by fire to the Lord, burnt offerings and grain offerings, sacrifices and drink offerings, each on its designated day. These offerings are hidden to the offerings for the Lord's Sabbath, and in addition to your gifts, to all your vow offerings and to all your free will offerings you give to the Lord. On the 15th day of the 7th month, after you have gathered the produce of the land, you are to celebrate a feast to the Lord for 7 days. There shall be complete rest on the first day and also on the 8th day. And on the first day, you are to gather the fruit of majestic trees, the branches of palms and the boughs of leafy greens trees, and of the willows of the brook. And you are to rejoice before the Lord your God. For 7 days, you are to celebrate this as a feast to the Lord for 7 days each year. This is a permanent statute. It's permanent for the generations to come. You are to celebrate it in the 7th month. You are to dwell in booths for 7 days. All the native born of Israel must dwell in booths, so that your descendants may know that I have made the Israelites dwell in booths when I brought them out of the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. So Moses announced to the Israelites the appointed feast of the Lord. And all these extra scriptures you can go back and read. Most people will try to disregard these. The feast and the Sabbath also found in Exodus. These repeat themselves. So anytime it's repeated throughout the Bible, God is trying to show you the importance of it, that it's vital and important to him. So I hope that you will do a deep dive, that you'll read the extra scriptures, and I hope that you'll go into prayer and ask the Lord. There's nothing greater than celebrating these feasts. I promise you. I do it. I've done it 2 years in a row, and I love it. I love it. It's amazing. It's refreshing. The camaraderie, the like-mindedness, the amount of people that you get to meet from all over the world that are there to serve the Lord with a heart for the Lord. It's profoundly amazing. I hope that you will. I encourage you to do it, and do a deep dive. Shalom.